Hey there, Scorpio rising signs of the zodiac. It's Cosmic Girl taking you through your horoscope for the month of October in this video. Thanks for joining me here. Trust you're doing well. We're going to jump straight into it. A lot of action. We're going to talk about what all the astrology and illuminations indicate for you as a Scorpio rising sign. Yes, a lot of action. Chart ruler Mars ingressed into Scorpio on the 22nd of September and will be in your natal first house of self until November 3rd. You may have felt a shift on the 22nd of September, actually, because Mars isn't really subtle in the first house. Mars is the energy and the determination, and it's like the executive makes decisions and is very acute and determined. So I wonder if any Scorpio rising signs had anything significant happen from the 22nd to the 23rd of September when it ingressed into your first house. Feel free to leave any comments in the comment section below, because Mars isn't subtle when it gets into the house of your body, your health, your identity, your appearance, and anything you wish to initiate. And Mars is all about being a self-starter and strategically planning plans to get you moving in the direction of your own free will. Really nice with Mars in the first house for the whole month of October. Now, Mars hasn't been in the first house for over 2 years, so know that whatever you are initiating from the 22nd of September to November 1st, it's going to be pretty personal to you. And you're about to start a whole new 2 year cycle. Mars takes 2 years to go through the zodiac. So, whatever you are going to ingest all your energy and effort towards, make a plan for it to be for 2 years and follow through. Mars is helping you, give you the eye for a goal. And it's going to be very personal and close to your chest. And you are all up for something brand new with Mars in the first house after 2 years. Really nice. Helping you out, just, muscle up and get shit going, basically. So I really like that for the Scorpio rising signs with Mars in the first house. Mercury joins in on the 6th to the 29th. This is really good. Now, Mercury and Mars are friends. So Mercury in the first house with your chart ruler Mars from the 6th to the 29th, pretty important transit. Mars and Mercury are pretty active in the month, which we'll get to. But Mercury in the first house on the 6th to the 29th is really helpful for you to intellectualize your needs and communicate them organically. Mercury, the mind, Mercury also connected to travel and finance and information. So, with Mercury in the first house, you may be more prone to travel, planning travel trips. Financial interests will come in strong with Mercury in the first house of self. What finances do you have? What finances do you need? This is putting pen to the paper and going, right, what's my plan for the next 2 years? You can think long term with Mercury in the first house. Mercury also in Scorpio is great for probing conversations and getting down to the root of any issues with the self, or just feeling a little more inclined to speak your truth, use your throat chakra more organically with Mercury in the first house, especially in Scorpio, where Mercury wants to just get down to the facts, bring things up to the surface. So things can be communicated quite well here. So this is a lot of truth, a lot of maybe even tears with Mercury and Scorpio in the first house from the 6th to the 29th. But Mercury is really helpful for your chart ruler Mars. So all in all, the whole month looks really good astrologically for you as a Scorpio rising sign. You have the Sun in the 12th house of Libra until the 22nd. The ruler of the 10th and the 12th can indicate that maybe there's less drive towards ambition. So maybe taking some time off work, maybe not so enthusiastic, if you will, to be driven towards your career or public facing roles with this transit with the Sun ruling the 10th and the 12th. You may also find that there could be changes in the workplace regarding like bosses, CEOs could be taking a back seat with a sun in the 12th house Libra as well, opening up the month of October until the 22nd. So, yeah, pretty interesting. But keep in your back pocket. Primary focus is on what's my chart ruler Mars doing? Well, until the 3rd of November, Mars is giving you the energy to get it together. What do you want? Where do you want to go? What do you want to do? Mercury is helping you seek out, make a strategy, finances, plan travel, do some traveling, communicate well, talk from your throat and heart chakra. Mercury in the first house gives you a keen eye for knowing how to navigate and execute your well laid plans that you lay out for yourself, especially 2U plans with Mercury and Mars in the first house. Good astrology for you, Scorpio rising signs. Nice, nice, nice. On the 7th, we have our first lunation of the month, and it is a full moon in Aries in your natal sixth house at 14 degrees. So the full moon is lighting up your sixth house of work, health, services, accidents, injuries, the house of labor, the house of slavery. The natal sixth house is the daily round. It's something very familiar to us. It's like our routines, our schedules. It's a busy house, and we're always doing something of service selflessly in the natal sixth house. And here we have a full moon lighting it up, where we see something in its entirety, and it's an achievement peak point where there is an opportunity to benefit from things that you do endure with on the daily, with a full moon in Aries. And Mars is the ruler of Aries as well as your sign, Scorpio rising. So this can be a personal little win for you on the 7th of October. And it could have to do with something official, something to do with your career or professional industry is coming in hot on the 7th of October. That can lift your spirits. So really quite nice lunation for you. We also have Mercury squaring off with retrograde Pluto. And this is Mercury like challenged, if you will, challenging a idea about conforming to group or hive-minded thinking regarding family, home, real estate, or property, or even with a parent at the same time of this full moon going on the 7th of October, where you might be getting a bit of a relief point that something's finally being settled. And at the same time, there's this tug of war going on with, I don't really know if I agree or how to communicate about how I'm not on the same page with retrograde Pluto. Mercury is struggling trying to be okay with retrograde Pluto in Aquarius in the fourth house of doing things the same way with a home and family, real estate property, or with a parent. Yeah, very interesting day on the 7th of October. On the 13th, Venus ingresses into Libra, your natal 12th house. So from the 13th of October moving forward into November, Venus is bringing you harmony, balance, and enjoyment with relationships and socializing out of the public view, because that is the natal 12th house. So you may be indulging in things like theatre or dance or art, or just enjoying snuggling up with your significant one on one, more time for the two of you kind of transit. And Venus in the 12th house of Libra, her sign of rulership, which is really quite happy, then you may be happy taking the foot off the gas pedal with Venus in the 12th house. You may be also focusing in on balancing out anything to do with legal aspects with Venus in the 12th house. If you have anything legal occurring for you with Venus in Libra and her sign of rulership doing really well, then you may be having some small legal wins as well with Venus in the 12th house of Libra from the 13th of October moving into November. This is like, I've won a court case, or I've finally settled that legal dispute and it's all said and done now that Venus is in the 12th house, and you get to enjoy relief. You get a little bit of a breath of fresh air, get to exhale with Venus in the 12th house. Venus in the 12th house is Libra 2, Scorpio rising signs, is also quite beneficial for you to take up the opportunity to delve into things such as power dynamics with you and other significant relationships. If you've been having a difficult time with relationships or your social connections, now that Venus is in Libra in the 12th house, things can start to come back into balance and communication becomes easy between you and other, be it business, intimate, or otherwise, with Venus in Libra in the 12th house. So quite nice transit for you on the 13th of October moving into November. We also have Pluto stationing direct in Aquarius on the same day, the 13th, in your natal fourth house. So Pluto going direct in the fourth house, maybe things are moving more positively in a positive direction regarding your home life, real estate, property, things you do in private. Maybe there's something changing here within your actual family dynamics moving forward from the 13th of October. Now that Pluto is direct, really good for real estate opportunities, putting a house on the market or putting a bid in at an auction for purchasing a home, that kind of thing, now that Pluto is direct in the fourth house of Aquarius on the 13th of October. Okay, so when Venus does ingress into her sign of rulership, Libra, on the 13th, she immediately opposes retrograde Neptune in Aries, where that full moon was. So with Venus saying no, which is what an opposition is, it's simply because she can see that something is dissipating or changing or unrealistic, connected to work, health services, accidents, injuries, and things that you do laboriously on the daily. So this can be rejecting committing to hard work or a service, or wanting to cut down things that you do on the daily with your daily schedule. So this is like wanting to change up the need to forcefully keep going all the time, with Venus opposing retrograde Neptune in Aries on the 13th. She's also trining retrograde Uranus in Gemini, and retrograde Uranus in Gemini is trining Pluto now direct in Aquarius. So all these modern outer planets are all connecting in trines and sextiles with one another. So when Venus trines retrograde Uranus and Gemini in your natal 8th house from your 12th house, yes, this can indicate feeling a bit of a reprieve regarding other people's resources, or transformation regarding resources that you benefit from or control. So we like that when Venus trines retrograde Uranus. So there's something financial transforming your wealth house, which can be quite uplifting. And we also have Uranus retrograde trining Pluto direct in Aquarius from the 8th house to the 4th house. So if you are getting hints about money improving or a transformation happening connected to others' resources, it's going to benefit your home life, family, real estate, property, maybe even parents in a beneficial way on the 13th. So, yeah, pretty big day astrologically. But Venus and Libra in the 12th house, really nice transit. Loving doing what you love, taking the time you need, learning to say no when you need to enjoy life instead of going, Venus in the 12th. On the 20th, Mercury conjuncts your chart ruler Mars. Ooh, brilliant ideas. Money raining from heaven. Travel is the tonic for the day. The 20th of October is all about sparky excitement. Mercury, the planet of travel, finance, movement, intellectual pursuits, is conjuncting your chart ruler Mars. The mind is now hitting action. Your chart ruler Mars in the first house. Big day on the 20th because when Mercury conjuncts your chart ruler, and this is important intel, important conversations, be it financial, about travel, or other aspects in your life. No matter how you cut it, the 20th of October is going to be a standout day when Mercury conjuncts your chart ruler Mars. The next day on the 21st, we are having our second lunation of the month, and this is a new moon in Libra in your natal 12th house at 28 degrees. This is a really nice new moon because Venus, the ruler of Libra, is here in her sign of rulership. We've got the sun here in Libra as well. And so we have the opportunity to start something that we value and love, and we can take steps towards a new horizon that feels in balance, in flow, and in harmony, connected with things like doing things in private out of the public eye with a partner or a new social setting or connection, a new agenda to begin to enjoy respite and retreat. So you may be planning such things as a travel trip or planning to move in a new direction with a relationship, taking something informal with a connection to something formal that will flourish and come to its fruiting stage in 6 months' time at the full moon in Libra in 2026. So there is an opportunity that you can take of your own free will to develop more equality, harmony, and balance connected to your social life, a relationship, or just something you want to get on top of and you're ready to roll up your sleeves. You are more than prepared to value things that you love behind closed doors out of the public eye. Really nice new moon on the 21st of October. All right. Happy days on the 22nd. The sun ingresses into your first house of Scorpio for 4 weeks. The sun is in the first house. The sun is the ruler of Leo, your 10th house, and now it's in the first house for 4 weeks. So it is definitely time to level up the ante when it comes to your ambitions, your goals connected to your career and your professional industry. You may be taking on more of a leadership or authoritative position in the public now that the sun is in your natal first house for 4 weeks. Interesting. But we like the sun in the first house with our own chart ruler Mars co-present because the sun illuminates and it gives us optimism and energy, if not even more so with Mars being in the first house. Now the sun sort of just infuses the natal first house with being seen, because this is the first house of self identity, your appearance, your body, your health, and initiating new starts. So you can be starting new starts of an official capacity as well. The ruler of the 10th in the first house for 4 weeks. Big transit with the sun in the first house, Scorpio rising signs, nothing to sneeze at. And we also have on the same day, the 22nd, retrograde Neptune, now retrograding, back into the natal fifth house out of the sixth house. So with Neptune back in the fifth house, are things that you create, be it children, if applicable to you, pregnancy, sex, fertility, romance and intimacy, the house of leisure. Neptune going back into Pisces is really beautiful for knowing that life is to be enjoyed. It's not all work and no play. So Neptune back in the fifth house on the 22nd of October till the 20th of February next year in 2026. You've got an open space, if you will, to work out your life, leisure versus work and pleasure kind of transit now that Neptune's out of the sixth and in the fifth house. So, really nice. Neptune in Pisces. It's the modern planet that's connected to Pisces, and this is going to wrap up a long cycle that you've been engaged with for the last 14 years, connected to how the hell do I keep my fun train going, and what's my visions, and let's get down to it before Neptune goes back into the natal sixth house of Aries on February 20. It's not too bad at all for you with Neptune going back into Pisces. And you also have Saturn here as well in Pisces. And Saturn gives you that discerning eye and knowing, you want what you want, you love what you love. But it takes a lot of responsibility and hard work at the same time. But Saturn's going to give you that discipline and the wisdom to know to get that leisure recreational house, a house of pleasure in balance. So nice astrology. From the 27th of October, things get really busy here. Heads up, because now towards the end of the month, it's going to be very, very active. So let's talk about why. On the 27th, Mars trines retrograde Saturn and retrograde Saturn trines Jupiter. And so this is what we call a grand water trine. So feelings and emotions, water, movement, and our psychic intuition is on point from the 27th of October, even bleeding into the 28th, 29th, I would say with confidence, with Mars trining retrograde Saturn and retrograde Saturn trining Jupiter. So for you as a Scorpio rising sign, you are in absolute emotional flow and intuiting very, very well about your sense of self and what you want to initiate, connected to things that bring you joy and pleasure and leisure. It may factor into travel, higher education, philosophy, learning something new from a different culture. It can also factor into just having more conviction about your beliefs, moral and ethical compass, and things that you value. So from the 27th, bleeding into the 28th and even the 29th, I think you're going to be on point about knowing your direction, what fills your cup organically, and you'll be able to communicate and articulate emotionally very well your own personal needs. And you may find support quite organically coming from your natal fifth house of children, if applicable to you, romantic partnerships, recreational pursuits, and leisure outlets are sort of available for you to engage with that really do fill your emotional cups. So nice astrology, but gets really busy from the 27th onwards. So you're all up in your feels. Psychic intuition is on point. You know exactly what's going to fulfill your emotional needs. And there's going to be assistance coming from the fifth house and the ninth house of expansion and leisure and pleasure. So really nice. Happy days on the 29th. Mercury in Scorpio, your natal first house, trines retrograde Neptune in Pisces in your natal fifth house. So this is a really nice day for communicating from the heart, great for DMs, maybe even revisiting new visions about future plans connected to recreation and leisure. So I really like the 29th for all of us, but for you with your first house and your fifth house, the self, and the fifth house of recreation, leisure, and joy, excitement basically is the tonic for the day with Mercury trining retrograde Neptune. Nice. Later in the day on the 29th, Mercury ingresses into Sagittarius into your natal second house, moving into November, and immediately opposes retrograde Uranus on its entry in its zodiac sign of detriment. Okay. So let's talk about the opposition first. When Mercury is opposing retrograde Uranus, he's actually opposing retrograde Uranus in his sign of rulership, which is Gemini. Mercury rules the zodiac sign of Gemini. So this is a natal second house and eighth house axis, which is ultimately about our valuables and our money houses. So with Mercury immediately opposing retrograde Uranus on his ingress into Sagittarius, the second house, it's going to be a day of like looking at things from a realistic lens that isn't tasteful regarding your values versus others' values. So this could be knowing that there's change going on or a transformation going on with assets and finances or other people's resources that you are financially entwined with. So it can be a pretty heady day on the 29th, like challenging values, your values versus others versus transformation. It's a day of just, well, like knowing things are going to be changing. Uranus, the planet of liberation and freedom, that can be disrupting, connected to others, resources, and transformation regarding your wealth, assets, and possessions. And Mercury just finds it a little bit nerve wracking to know that, things are moving in a new direction, a new future. And it can be a little bit nerve wracking, to be really fair, on the 29th, with intellectual Mercury spinning out about, wow, things are changing. And it can have to do with your assets, your tangibles, and maybe even your livelihood, and how other people in your life that have a financial interest with you could be going through a bit of a change, or this could be a deep conversation day. Yeah, not particularly fantastic, when Mercury opposes retrograde Uranus. It's a passing opposition for now anyway. It will happen again later down the track this year. But now let's talk about Mercury ingressing into Sagittarius, into the second house where Mercury is in detriment. Yeah, it's just a real shame because Mercury was doing really well with your chart ruler Mars in the first house, just getting you going and giving you all the ideas, travel opportunities, financial opportunities, information that you need to initiate new starts connected to your appearance, yourself, your health, your body, your identity. And now he's going into his sign of detriment where Mercury in the second house is important, Scorpio rising signs, because the second house does support the first house, which is you. So when Mercury goes into Sagittarius, his sign of detriment, Mercury starts questioning, believing that things can go right. And in your second house of skills, what you value, your tangibles like valuables, assets and possessions, your livelihood, this can be just a pain in the butt kind of transit, with Mercury saying, do you really think this is the way to go? I mean, maybe we're biting off more than we can chew. He can be a bit of a Debbie Downer. He just finds it difficult to believe and have faith and hope that, things can expand and get bigger for you as a Scorpio rising sign. And Mercury just throws in, it's like an imposter syndrome, just in your head going, oh, no, don't get too big for your boots kind of transit. It's a passing transit, but it can be annoying. So you may be questioning the validity, if you will, of finances, travel plans, travel itinerary, maybe even doing things like education or learning or teaching. And Mercury just goes, oh, maybe not. Yeah, maybe we're not as educated as we think we are. It's that kind of transit with Mercury in Sagittarius, where he just questions or challenges you and makes you feel a little bit small. So heads up there, this can just be like the devil on one shoulder and the angel on the other, and they're both in your ear kind of transit with Mercury in the Sagittarius. I suggest you go big or go home when Mercury is in Sagittarius and leave the questions at the door where they belong. If you get opportunities regarding your work or building on your skill sets through courses or benefit from accumulating assets and possessions, then you'd be foolish to reject them. And Mercury just may have you thinking, oh, but we've got bigger fish to fry, and maybe we just don't need to do that. Maybe you should just think about that. What about the plans that we made when I was in your natal first house? And now you want to, I don't know, go and throw a spanner in the works and get too big for your boots, that kind of thing. So, very interesting. From the 30th to the 31st, the last 2 days of October. Oh, happy Halloween to all that celebrate Halloween on the 31st of October. Hope you have a fun, fun day. We have Mercury sextiling Pluto in Aquarius and retrograde Saturn in Pisces trining Jupiter in Cancer. Pretty easy astrology to do what you love and leave fear and doubt at the door from the 30th to the 31st, especially if you have opportunities to plan trips, higher education, start a new recreational endeavor, maybe even take on some sort of project in your home or something to do with real estate and property. Looks pretty fortuitous the last couple of days of the month when there's really nothing stopping anyone with these planetary alignments in the last 2 days of October for reaching for the stars and whistling while we work and just enjoying this thing we call life. But for you, from your second to your fourth house to your fifth to your ninth house, this is about keeping things that we love behind closed doors and doing it with a smile on our dial, which can also signify that there's opportunities as well knocking on your door, Scorpio rising sign, to connect with travel opportunities, higher education, foreigners, foreign places, learning a different culture, or just enjoying uh, anything to do with religion or esotericism or learning something foreign that really ticks your boxes. Yeah, I really like the last couple of days of October for all of us with Mercury sextiling Pluto and retrograde Saturn trining Jupiter. Happy days. Chart ruler Mars and Scorpio in the first house. Carp diem, seize the day, Scorpio rising sign. You're setting off a new 2 year cycle, and Mercury for the month is really helping you with financial travel opportunities or the intellectual know how to communicate and even think about planning strategies moving forward on making your own life fulfilled and filling your own cup up organically. This being the master of self and mastering your mind, body, spirit, and soul kind of month. Lovely astrology for your Scorpio rising signs. I sincerely hope you have a wonderful month. If you would like to work one on one with your cosmic girl, connecting to astrology with your unique blueprint regarding your own natal chart, I can be contacted at cosmicgirl101 at protonmail.com. Enjoy your October. I think it's going to be a good one for you, Scorpio rising signs. And until next time, stay cosmic.